Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining our show again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in our cities. Because it is important for good government that the residents of the city and the mayors and the city council and the staff are all in communication with each other. So we'll encourage you that as you watch our show, and each week we'll have on somebody from one of the 9 cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area, bringing us information about what are the issues that are happening in that particular city. But we'll encourage you tonight, if you're from Plymouth, be sure to take down emails and phone numbers so that you can be in contact if any of the issues that we talk about tonight really resonate with you, that are important to you. So we're glad that you're with us, and we're very happy to welcome Jim Prom, who's on the Plymouth City Council.
Thank you for having me.
Right, you're on our show for the first time.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you with us. And I let you know ahead of time that I'm going to have you introduce yourself out to our wider audience. Give them a little bit of information about you and your background in Plymouth.
All right. I'm Jim Prom. I'm the Plymouth City Council member for Ward 4. And I have a background in medicine, emergency medicine, cardiovascular medicine. I've lived in Plymouth for about 20 years now on Bass Lake. And I have my wife and 3 daughters, mostly grown, so they were raised in Plymouth. And I'm this is my midway in my first term as a city council member, and I really appreciate and enjoy meeting and helping the people of Ward 4 in Plymouth.
Okay, now we're going to move on to redevelopment in Ward 4, and the area that people are looking at is the have been looking at and talking about for quite a while is the Pilgrim Lane Elementary School.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about the history of what's happening there and what some of the things that have been proposed there.
Well, I think it's, don't hold me on all the dates exactly.
No,
it was a little bit before my
right.
time. But I think it was 7 or 8 years ago they closed Pilgrim Lane because their enrollment was declining in the elementary.
Right.
And the building had sat empty for maybe 5 or 6 years. And recently, their Robbinsdale School District, they're constantly having to try to forecast and build out for a changing demographic and for changing windows of expansion. The middle school ages is really full, and so they've got a lot of moving pieces.
Oh, definitely.
And so they had originally proposed a high school at Pilgrim Lane.
Right.
And the neighbors really would rather have an elementary school because it's in a neighborhood. So luckily, by luck I say, the Robbinsdale School District was able to get both of the fair schools.
Correct.
And so they're decided to build a fair elementary at Pilgrim Lane. And I believe next year they'll open in kindergarten or kindergarten and first, and then each year after that they'll add a 2nd and 3rd grade.
And that'll be the one with the art emphasis, right?
Yes, yes. They'll have an arts emphasis. They'll have community programming at night, so there'll be some cars in there at night as well. So they'll make full use of that building. I just drove by there today, and they are thick into the construction. And after watching Pittsburgh and 494, it's like, wow, just amazing how much construction is going on.
Yeah, because the building needed a bit of work on the roof and
It did, and I think there was old tile and thing that had to get pulled out, and they had to add a few rooms, add a few more parking spaces, and so they're kind of right in the middle of that right now. And
what is the approximate timeline for it?
I believe that they want to open it up next fall.
Okay.
Yeah, so fall enrollment. But I wouldn't be surprised if they open it up early to do some community ed.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure, they have so many programs, good programs in Robbinsdale, that I'm sure they want to use their facilities. They're very efficient about doing that.
And then something I was surprised at when I looked at Plymouth's website is you have 5 different school districts involved,
We
do.
Why
don't you tell us just a little bit about who all has parts of Plymouth for schools?
Well, the major area, of course, is the Wayzata School District, which is Ward 1 and 2 and part of 3. my ward is the Osseo School District and Robbinsdale. So for example, I'm in Osseo and the southern half is in Robbinsdale.
Right.
And then we have part of Minnetonka and St. Louis Park and Robbinsdale in Ward 3, where we have a race this year for 2 new people. So you'll have new representation in those 3 school districts down there. It's very, that kind of coincides with our watersheds. We have 4 watersheds and 5 school districts in Plymouth.
Right.
Yep.
But not too many suburbs have that many school districts.
No, it's not. And Wayzata gets a lot of attention because it's more than half of the city.
Right.
But we try on our side to give as much attention to our school district. So I'm very happy to work with Robbinsdale and really pleased with both the fact that they're opening up the fair school, but the Zachary Lane Elementary has done very well itself and is kind of like a leading star in the Robbinsdale School District. And so we're very pleased about that.
And then the other area with redevelopment coming on is the Four Seasons Mall, and that's been a long process with lots of differences of opinion, right?
Yes, the Four Seasons Mall is, it's kind of the big nut there. It's been empty for quite a while, similar to Pilgrim Lane. I believe it was about 5 to 8 years ago that they were bought by a company, and it's a very difficult site to build on. A lot of people who are unfamiliar with it don't realize that almost half of that parking lot is built on pilings over water, and it's kind of part of the Bassett Creek watershed. So the owner wanted to build something very large, a box store, and that would add a lot of extra traffic.
Oh, definitely.
So what we did is we had a study done on what kinds of different things would work in the level that it is right now, a 2 level. And so recently a developer came and is looking at it and is about to propose building something that kind of fits in that genre.
Okay.
The old Four Seasons really felt like a community. You know, the local people who live in the neighborhood would go over to Marcello's, they go over to Woody's hardware store, and really kind of had a feel. Well, the new developer is calling it, I think it's Agora, which means community. And he wants to build something very similar to that, where we have some retail, but we also have a couple of hotels and a transit parking station, some senior housing, but he also has kind of a community area in the middle.
Interesting.
And it is very interesting. It's a lot. It's ambitious.
Right.
It's very unique on the watershed side of it.
Okay.
Because he's also talking about cleaning up phosphorus as part of the project. And you don't have that very often. No. So he's working with the watershed to remove, I think it's 100 pounds of phosphorus a year, which is what they've been kind of wanting from this side of Northwood Lake there, which affects your home in New Hope, right?
New Hope person,
I'm with you there. So if it's ambitious, and it still has to go through the process. We looked at it as far as tax increment financing last night and the EDA, and we kind of understand, you know, where it might come in, but we still have to go through all the details, the planning process, the environmental worksheet. It's got to go through the planning commission and then come back to the city council. Then and only then, if it's approved, will the sale of the property go through.
Yeah, who owns the property now?
The property is owned by Walmart.
Oh, okay. They still have it, because I know they owned it at one point, but I didn't know where it was now.
Okay. Yeah, they still own it, and so you know, this is not a done deal.
Right.
And I've talked to a lot of the neighbors who'd like to see something that would again bring that community in, and wouldn't be too busy with traffic, and so. You know, it's very interesting. I'm kind of on the water side myself. I live on the lake. Water quality is important to me. And when they came to me, you know, to talk about it, I thought, wow, that's really, really ambitious. You're going to remove storm water. You're going to filter it from phosphorus. And so he took me down to the Saints Stadium, where they've actually done that. I don't know, have you been to the Saints Stadium?
No, I haven't.
You really ought to go. It's really a neat little boutique stadium.
Yeah, that's what I heard about it.
It's very neat. And they've got some very unique water quality features that we would kind of duplicate or mimic on this one. And I'm really glad that we have Derek Ashley to explain all this to me.
Right.
Our water guy he's great. And if it's doable and it's all part of that project, it would really be an incredible, again, gathering space where we'd also have a transit ramp and some nice hotels.
Right.
And considering we have all the medical device companies,
very
people come
close
in
by,
for Christmas. It'd be
right.
nice for your relatives to
Right.
have a good, 3 or 4 star hotel to go to. Right
Yeah,
down
and there
the
aren't
street.
any right along that stretch, are there?
There really isn't.
No.
There really isn't. But again, it's a difficult property. A lot of it's on water, so it's going to be a very engineering.
So at this point, there's an interested developer,
Mm-hmm.
and you're working with the beginning steps of development with them.
That's right. They
Okay.
came and talked to us
Okay.
about the concept they had. I think we sent you a picture so you guys
Right,
could
yeah,
show
we'll
that.
we'll put a picture up.
And then we had a neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
And the neighbor, we want to get a feel
Oh,
from the
right,
neighbors,
right.
and they all thought that it sounded really good.
Aha.
And so that was good. And then we just have to see whether or not we have to start checking some T's and crossing, dotting
definitely.
some I's, and really seeing how it. There's a traffic study being done.
Uh-huh.
Is it going to be the same amount or less traffic or more traffic? That's important to know, and just how it'll all function. And then, of course, there's the financing element
Right,
of it,
right.
which is really all on the developer. So
Yeah, because there's a lot of things in development that happen behind the scenes before people see something actually happening.
Yes, and he is saying that if this gets approved, which could be as early as late December or early
okay.
January, that he would build the whole thing out in 1 year.
Oh, that sounds
So
good.
We'll have more
Yeah,
construction.
Right,
What are you
right.
going to do?
But people will be happy to see that
I
one
think
getting-
so. I really do. I think people will be thrilled. Might have a restaurant or a
Okay.
cafe, possibly a brew pub or something like that. That's very popular.
Right.
Tap room, maybe.
Right.
I'm hoping that Danette Parr will reach out to some businesses and let everyone know that
Sure.
this development could really happen, and I think the neighbors would be thrilled, and it'd be very neat to have this kind of redevelopment in Ward 4. This plus the
Right.
school really kind of brings it together.
And so it's a serious effort.
It's a very serious
There's
effort.
lots of parts and pieces that you have to make sure work together.
That's right. Yep. And a lot of that onus is on the developer themselves.
right.
We can only do so much, and like any other developer, you have to go through all the steps.
Right,
And
right.
they're going through all the steps, and so stay tuned.
Right.
Northeast Plymouth.
And then it's interesting that they are working on the water issue too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something different, and that I'm really hoping that goes through as well. Northwood Lake is just on the other side of
Mm-hmm. Yes,
169.
right.
So we have a creek, and then comes together with the Four Seasons right there at the base, and they're talking about kind of filtering off all that storm water and treating the water that basically is right there before it goes underneath 494 and into Northwood
Right.
Lake. So that would be terrific that we get some phosphorus
Oh,
out.
yeah.
And it's just, they're all working together.
Yeah.
That's very unique to
That's
see.
a big plus.
That no
Right.
one's really out of sync here on this one.
Right.
So stay tuned. It's a very exciting project. And then I think that's it for Ward 4.
Okay, I think that's all I've got, Dowan.
Yes, terrific.
Then I'm going to you'll be my first, but I'm going to have people respond to giving us more information about Plymouth City's comprehensive plan. And all of our cities, every 10 years, have to put together a plan for what they want to have happen in the future. And I think they're aiming towards 2030, if I'm right. Right. So that I thought a lot of people aren't quite aware of it, and this next update is coming in a couple years.
Yes, it is.
So all of our cities are getting into the process of it, and I thought, well, the people out there should know a little bit more about what's going on with the comprehensive plan. But maybe you could talk about, because there's about 8 areas, and if you briefly talk about each one, what's involved in the comprehensive plan, just a brief once-over, because you're going to look at land use.
That's right. That's the first one. So the comprehensive plan is it's a tool that is in a response to the Met Council and the state laws,
Okay.
which basically tell us as a city that we have to plan our community out. The Met
Right.
Council has quite a bit of overview
Oh, yeah.
on the density.
Right.
And they've been wanting higher densities. So in the land use, we look at the entire city and the northwest corner is still being built out.
Right.
And we basically have to pre-set up areas where we're going to allow certain kinds of zoning to meet those guidances.
Sure.
And so somebody might be zoned rural farm right now, and in the future it'll be an RSF3, which is our single family resident,
Okay.
three to 6 units per acre.
Okay, the land use also involves housing, right?
Yes, and it does involve housing because we've determined what kind of housings are going to go on each parcel. So in Northwest, like I said, we're going from farmland to RSF3, which
Right.
means 3 to 6 units per acre. So you
okay.
might have 3 single-family detached townhomes, or they might be 6 row house type
sure,
townhomes.
sure.
It just depends, and that element is determined a lot by the developers. So people think the city is determining what types of houses are built,
Right.
and it's really not true. The developers are making that calculation. They're the ones who have to buy the land.
Right.
They're the ones who have to get all that improvements in,
Right.
pay off all the other things, and then build the houses or whatever and sell them for a profit.
Right.
So they're taking the risk. So when they come in, they say, well, it's zoned RSF3. I want to build these kind of homes.
Right.
And then that goes through the process, the regular city process
Sure.
of whether or not it
It's
crosses the
gonna work.
T's and
Right,
dots the I's of working with the plan. So that's one element of the comprehensive plan. There's other elements as well.
Right. Now, the next one that I have listed is transportation.
Yes.
So what does the comprehensive plan do in that regard?
So in transportation, we work with the Met Council, and it was Southwest Transit was running our transit. Plymouth ran their own. And we basically lay out the different routes that we think are going to be needed or expanded based
For
on
the
different
future.
traffic studies. Yep,
Right.
based on different traffic studies. So again, we're sending them back. This is where we think we're going to need more buses. This is where
Right.
we're going to need more, well, we're not having a light rail in Plymouth, but and that's basically what we're saying to the Met Council, because they assign so much money to every city to spend on transit.
right.
So it's kind of letting them know, okay, in the future we think we'll need this, and then that will go into the budget. So that's for
Right.
transportation.
And then part of the plan is for parks and trails and open spaces?
Yes, and that's, again, it's a comprehensive plan. So you're basically saying how your city is going to be laid out.
Right.
And of course, in Plymouth, we're the home of parks and trails and
right,
the Northwest
right.
Greenways. So that I don't think will change much over the last one, because we already had it in the comprehensive plan. But it does lay out every single park that you plan on building and how you're going to maintain them. Yep.
And then both the water supply and the sanitary sewer comes under that?
Yes, it does, and that goes hand in hand with the development.
Right.
So the Met Council will allow someone to build a sewer X size for handling so much water, and then the development will take that. And we again have to lay that all out. In Plymouth, we have multiple pump stations. People probably aren't aware of what a pump station is. But all that water that you flush down has to go somewhere. And when you have the rolling hills with little pockets, sometimes you need a pump station to pump that water up. And those are the kinds of things that we'll be explaining as we built out Ward 1, where we're going to have the pipes, how they're going to, what kind of flow we expect out of them, and whether or not we need a pump station. So all that goes into that.
So now, those are all the areas. How does the city get from these are the areas to what the final plan is? What
Well,
steps do you go through, or
First, the
who do you
staff-
involve?
Yeah, okay. First, the staff will look at the old comp plan, and then we'll see what parts of that will fit into the new comp plan. And then they'll actually make the different changes and add them as a proposal. And then the proposal will go through, and the city council will look at it in a study session, see if that makes sense. Most of it is pretty mundane.
Right.
You know, you're going to need so much sewers for so many people, so that's pretty straightforward. Whether or not we'll need a new bus line up here, that's a little bit more hard to tell. And as far as the parks go, that's pretty much straightforward. So we really haven't had a lot of changes in the comprehensive plan. There were some parcels out in northwest Plymouth that maybe got a changed status over this last comprehensive plan.
And then, do the residents get involved in this process, or how?
Typically not,
Okay.
but I don't think it's it's for any other reason than these are done at study sessions, and we don't have a lot of people coming to our study
right.
sessions.
So they could.
They're on the website.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to
Right,
come to our
right,
study
right.
sessions and look at how the decisions we
Sure.
make. Occasionally, we'll have some high schoolers come
Okay.
in. You know, they're
Oh, yeah.
and this is a great idea for you teachers teaching government. Have them come in and watch our meetings, take
Oh,
different
definitely.
notes, and we definitely encourage that. But that's where it all happens,
Okay.
and so there's really not a residential input,
For
as it's
that.
kind of government to government. When the residential input comes in is when we're going to do something to your residents. Yes.
And then a lot of cities hire, I don't know if it's consultants, but people with special skills in that area to help you to cross all the T's and dot all the I's?
A lot of cities
Okay.
do, but lucky
I was going to
for
say,
us,
what does Plymouth do?
lucky for us in Plymouth, we have the skilled people in-house. And
okay,
they've been there
that's
a
good.
while.
That's
I
good.
know, we are very
Right.
fortunate because they're so reliable. They've been there for a long time, they understand the process, and yet they understand who we are as Plymouth. So there's not a lot of miscommunication or any backbiting or anything
Right.
like that going on.
Now, once you've put things together, then nearby cities need to interact with each other's comprehensive plans. Maybe you could speak to that a little.
Definitely around the boundary lines,
Right.
but also in talking about public safety. You know, how are we going to work well with West Metro? Maybe sometimes with transportation as well. Any kind of these categories that spill over to the next city, we send ours out, they send theirs out, and then it goes to the Met Council. And we try to make it workable
Right.
in a collaborative sense, but for the most part, we haven't had any real problems or issues with that, as far as I know.
Because then the Met Council has to ultimately approve the plan?
Yes, they do approve the
Okay.
plan. Yeah. That's where the political process takes over.
Right, right.
That's where some of the fights start,
Ah.
because some people want this, other people want that, and that's where the real politics
Right,
begin.
right.
That's where you bring the state, the state House and Senate oversee the Met Council.
And then what you have in your comprehensive plan is going to then guide your development and redevelopment
It does.
ultimately.
It does. So we have the guiding in place. A developer comes in, he's able to contact Danette Parr
Yeah.
and say, hey, I want to build something here,
Right.
or Steve Jutton. And then we look at it. Does it fit in there? If it's already zoned
Right,
for that,
right.
you're good to go. You
Right.
can go on in and just go through the regular process. And that's, a lot of people think you have to start from scratch. You really don't. If it's already zoned for something, you can build what you want
Right.
that fits that zone. And it's only when you want to change it.
Right.
And that happens once in a while.
Oh, and that's possible too. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yep,
So
absolutely.
I thought, well, it's in the process. Might as well let people, our audience out there, learn more about it.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you,
And your comprehensive plan is on your website.
yes it is.
Right.
Everything's on our website,
Yeah.
which is really neat. And it really, if you want to see the effect of a comprehensive website, just drive through the different areas of Plymouth. They all have their own unique character.
Oh, right.
And Ward 1, the one we're building now, has been the more recent kind of urban update,
Right.
sort of. So it definitely shows in the planning just by driving through the
Right.
city. Nothing's by
All right, now we're going to switch gears because want to make sure that we have enough time to talk a little bit about the commissions and the committees that people can join. Because this is the time of year when almost all of our cities are looking at making appointments to their commissions. What are the different groups that people can look at for Plymouth? Now, they can get it on your website.
Yes,
they
they
can
can.
get a lot of
Yes,
information.
they can.
But maybe you can just highlight what they are.
Yep, and serving on a commission is a great way to volunteer and add your expertise to your area
Right.
of interest. And so we have a Parks Commission, an HRA. We have I'm drawing a blank here.
Planning. Everybody's got planning, right?
Yes, oh yeah, absolutely, and the EQC, which I oversee, the environmental water quality. And each commission has about 7 people on
Okay.
it, and you serve for about 3 years, and you can re-up if you want or not. They serve as little miniature boards, and they cover certain issues, like the EQC Commission is going to cover the organic recycling.
Okay.
Right? That's a different
right,
topic.
yeah.
But so serving on a commission, typically you meet once a month. You get a packet and you read through it and you go through, and then you actually act as an independent commission and you
Right.
make recommendations. So the Planning Commission or EQC will make recommendations to the City Council, and then we can take them on or not.
Well, and those groups are really doing research for the council.
Absolutely.
They're spending the time pulling out all the information that you need to be aware of.
That's right. They go over a lot of the facts of the case, if
Right.
you will. In addition to our own in-house commissions, we have the watersheds.
Oh,
And we
right,
have
right.
4 watersheds, Bassett Creek, Shingle Creek, Minnehaha Creek, and Elm Creek.
Ah.
Again, just the 4 different
Right,
quadrants.
right,
I'm
right.
on Shingle Creek. And typically each of those have 2 commissioners
Right.
that are appointed by the City Council, and then they represent the city. So in the Bassett Creek watershed, which is Ward 3 and part of my ward, the Four Seasons
Right,
Mall,
right.
one of our commissioners is resigning. So we need somebody else who has a very interest in water quality, any sort of background or interest. You're going to have to dedicate yourself to maybe 1 or 2 meetings a week of 4
Okay.
hours apiece. So the watershed commissions are a little bit more
Right.
extensive than your regular in-house commissions, but boy, they're sure helpful. And they represent the city. Bassett
Right.
Creek has 9 different cities, and you're representing the
Right,
city of Plymouth,
right.
which pays for about 45% of that
Aha.
entire commission. And it's really interesting to
Right.
go into these meetings. Again, they're open to the public as
Right.
well, so you can just log on
And that
take
might be a
look at
good
them.
way for people to kind of sample if it's something they're really interested in, is
That-
to go to a meeting.
That would be a great way.
Yeah.
You know, get online. Everybody's online now.
Right.
So get online and look at these commissions and just go to a meeting
Yeah.
and say, hey, I'm interested in that. And of course, if you are interested, you need to call your local council member
Right.
or go into the city themselves and talk to Sandy Ingdahl, and she will show you the proper paperwork to fill out.
Right.
I believe it's December 5th is the
Okay.
deadline for Plymouth. So
Okay.
for next year's commissions. And we would love you to come and donate a little bit of time, learn
Right.
a lot about the city, and that might lead to other things in the
Yeah,
future.
who knows? So if you've got any extra time, or if you're at a different stage in your life when you have the time available, it's definitely a worthwhile thing to look into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I want to thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much
very much. I
for
appreciate
sharing
that.
all this information about Plymouth
Glad to help.
with me and with our audience out there. That if any of these areas resonated with you and you live in Plymouth in Ward 4, contact Jim Prom or contact your mayor or city council people. We hope you'll join us again next week. Bye.